Welcome to the History AI podcast, where the past comes alive with facts, anecdotes, and a dash of humor. Here are your hosts, Chuck and Marco.
Welcome back to the History AI podcast, the show where ancient secrets meet cutting-edge tech. I'm Chuck.
And I'm Marco. And today, we're diving into one of the most captivating relics in human history, the Ark of the Covenant.
A golden chest that supposedly held the 10 Commandments and could level armies. Indiana Jones didn't make it up. This thing has roots in biblical lore and real-world legend.
And maybe a touch of divine firepower. So today, we'll explore how the Ark was created, its journey through ancient Israel, and the million-dollar question, where the heck did it go? But before we begin, please be sure to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review.
Alright, let's set the stage. We're going back to somewhere around the 13th century BCE, the Late Bronze Age, a time of big empires, fragile alliances, and a whole lot of cultural cross-pollination.
Right. Egypt was still a major superpower, with pharaohs like Ramses II strutting their divine stuff. The Hittites were flexing up in Anatolia, and the Mycenaeans, the Greeks before they were Greeks, were building palaces and writing in Linear B. It was a pretty turbulent time.
Into this world steps the story of the Israelites. According to the Hebrew Bible, the Israelites were enslaved in Egypt, then led to freedom by Moses in an epic escape known as the Exodus. Now, whether that happened exactly as described is debated among historians, but the narrative's cultural power is undeniable.
After the dramatic Red Sea parting and desert wandering, we arrive at Mount Sinai. That's where Moses has a literal mountaintop experience, receiving the 10 Commandments from God amid fire, smoke, and the sound of a trumpet. And this is also where the blueprint for the Ark of the Covenant is delivered.
And we mean blueprint. The Book of Exodus gives nearly an IKEA-level manual, 2.5 cubits long, 1.5 cubits wide, gold-plated inside and out, with 4 gold rings and poles for transport, and topped with 2 cherubim facing each other over the mercy seat.
This wasn't just ceremonial furniture, it was intended as the physical dwelling place of God among his people. The tablets of the law, what we call the 10 Commandments, were placed inside, making it a kind of divine contract box.
But the Ark wasn't just a container, it was a cosmic throne. The Israelites believed God's presence would hover above the mercy seat between the cherubim. That's intense. The Ark turned the Israelites' nomadic tabernacle, a kind of mobile temple, into a spiritual powerhouse.
And remember, this is all happening while they're on the move through the Sinai Peninsula. These were harsh conditions: sand, heat, food scarcity. They were fighting for survival. But spiritually and socially, the Ark became a unifying symbol. It wasn't just divine tech, it was the center of their identity.
And in a world where gods lived in stone temples, like in Egypt or Mesopotamia, this portable divine throne was revolutionary. It said, "Our God moves with us."
The Ark represented power, promise, and presence. And as we'll see, that made it both a sacred treasure and a strategic weapon. Alright, so the Israelites have this golden, divine throne box, the Ark of the Covenant, and now we move into its glory years. This is when the Ark isn't just a relic, it's a leading character in the national saga of ancient Israel.
The Ark's first real action moment comes during the conquest of Canaan, particularly the famous Battle of Jericho. According to the book of Joshua, the Israelites carry the Ark around the city once a day for 6 days, then 7 times on the 7th day. The priests blow trumpets, the people shout, and boom, the walls come crashing down.
Now, was that a literal miracle? A psychological warfare tactic? A seismic coincidence? That's for scholars to debate. But what's key here is how central the Ark is to the Israelites' identity. It's not just with them, it's leading them.
And that idea, that the Ark was more than a symbol, but an active force, gets reinforced again and again. Take the crossing of the Jordan River. As the priests step into the water carrying the Ark, the river stops flowing, and the people cross on dry ground.
So now it's parting rivers. The Ark's resume keeps growing.
Fast forward a bit, and we hit one of the more sobering stories. In 1 Samuel, the Israelites are fighting the Philistines and decide to bring the Ark into battle like a holy weapon. But this time? Total disaster. Not only are they defeated, but the Ark is captured.
This is where the story gets wild. The Philistines take the Ark to Ashdod and place it in the temple of their god Dagon. But the next morning, Dagon's statue is mysteriously toppled. The day after that, it's fallen again, this time with its head and hands cut off.
Then plagues break out. Rats, tumors, some translations say hemorrhoids, which might be just as bad. The Philistines panic and start playing hot potato with the ark from city to city, until they finally send it back to Israel on a cart pulled by cows.
Which, by the way, is one of the earliest recorded return-to-sender moments in history.
Once the ark is back, it doesn't return immediately to the tabernacle. Instead, it spends some time in private homes, like that of a guy named Abinadab, until King David enters the scene.
David decides it's time to bring the ark to Jerusalem, now the capital. But even that journey is drama-packed. On the way, the ark is being transported on a cart when the oxen stumble. A man named Uzzah reaches out to steady it, and bam, he's struck dead on the spot.
That moment is chilling. It shows how seriously sacred and dangerous the ark was considered. Even a well-meaning touch was seen as an offense against divine law.
Eventually, the ark does make it to Jerusalem, with dancing, music, and a ton of fanfare. David's joy is so unfiltered that he dances in what's basically his underwear. His wife, Michal, is not impressed.
Later, King Solomon builds the first temple and installs the ark in the Holy of Holies, the inner sanctum. No one's allowed to enter except the high priest, and only once a year on Yom Kippur. Even then, the priest enters with a rope tied around his ankle in case he drops dead and needs to be pulled out without anyone else entering.
So by this point, the ark has gone from war machine to spiritual centerpiece. It's no longer marching through rivers or bringing down walls, it's resting in silence behind the veil, anchoring the faith and identity of an entire people.
And yet, that silence sets the stage for the mystery to come. So the Ark of the Covenant rests in the Holy of Holies, Solomon's grand temple is built around it, and for a while, things seem stable. But history has a way of shaking up even the holiest of relics.
Enter the 6th century BCE, a century of catastrophe for the kingdom of Judah. Babylon is rising, and Nebuchadnezzar II is making moves. After a series of rebellions, he's had enough. In 586 BCE, his army invades Jerusalem, destroys Solomon's temple, and sends much of the population into exile.
And here's where the mystery begins. The detailed records in the Bible tell us about the destruction of the temple, the looting of its treasures, but conspicuously, the ark is never mentioned again.
That's right. Not a single word. It just vanishes from the narrative. And for a sacred object that was the very throne of God, that silence is thunderous.
So what could have happened? One of the most widely held theories is that the ark was hidden away before the Babylonian invasion. Some believe it was taken by the priests and buried beneath the Temple Mount, possibly in secret chambers or tunnels.
But here's the catch, the Temple Mount is one of the most sensitive religious sites on Earth today. It's nearly impossible to conduct excavations there without triggering political and religious upheaval. So if it's there, it may never be found.
Another theory? It was taken by the Babylonians and destroyed, melted down for gold, or lost in transit. But again, no Babylonian records mention it, and they were meticulous archivists.
Then there's the Ethiopian claim. According to the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, the ark was brought to Axum by Menelik, the legendary son of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, after a visit to Jerusalem. They say it's been kept in the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion ever since.
There's even a guardian monk appointed for life who watches over it, and only he is allowed to see it. No tourists, no archaeologists, no Indiana Joneses.
Some modern researchers are skeptical of this claim, suggesting that what's in Axum may be a replica, or a sacred object inspired by the ark, rather than the original. Still, for the faithful, that's the real deal.
And then there are the fringe theories. Some say the ark was spirited away to southern Africa, possibly carried by the Lemba people, who claim ancient Jewish ancestry. Others suggest it was hidden in the Qumran caves with other temple treasures. And yes, there's always someone who thinks it's in a government warehouse in Washington, D.C., right next to the alien files.
Pop culture has latched onto this mystery in a big way. From Raiders of the Lost Ark to Dan Brown novels, the ark's disappearance fuels speculation like few other ancient mysteries.
But beyond the treasure hunt aspect, there's a deeper meaning to the ark's disappearance. Some scholars believe it was intentionally left out of post-exile texts to shift focus away from physical objects and toward the Torah, the written word, as the center of faith.
Others see it as symbolic. The loss of the ark mirrored the trauma of exile, a tangible reminder that divine presence couldn't be contained in gold or cedar. It had to be reimagined in community, in law, and in hope.
Whether lost, hidden, or destroyed, the Ark of the Covenant became something even more powerful, a mystery that transcends time, religion, and geography. Its absence speaks volumes. And maybe that's the point.
All right, so the ark vanishes. But instead of fading into obscurity, it becomes larger than life. Chuck, let's talk about why this thing still grips imaginations across the globe nearly 3,000 years later.
Yeah, it's wild. Unlike other lost relics, the Ark of the Covenant isn't just sought after, it's obsessed over. And not just by theologians or archaeologists. Governments, secret societies, conspiracy theorists, they've all claimed to be chasing it.
Let's start with Ethiopia. We mentioned the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion in Axum, but the legend there goes deeper. The Kebra Nagast, Ethiopia's 14th century national epic, says the ark was brought there by Menelik after he visited his father Solomon in Jerusalem.
According to the story, Menelik was accompanied by priests who secretly swapped the real ark for a replica. Solomon is heartbroken, but he's also convinced it was God's will. The ark, he believes, chose to leave.
For Ethiopian Christians, this isn't mythology, it's history. The ark is central to their religious identity. Every Ethiopian church contains a replica of the ark, called a tablet, housed in its own sanctuary. That's how sacred the tradition is.
Now pivot to Europe. In the Middle Ages, the ark appears in Templar lore. Some believe the Knights Templar found the ark, or at least documents describing its whereabouts, beneath the ruins of the Temple Mount during the Crusades.
That's where the Freemason angle comes in. The idea is that secret knowledge about the ark's location has been passed down through elite brotherhoods. Some say it's hidden beneath Chartres Cathedral. Others claim it's somewhere in Scotland, buried beneath Rosslyn Chapel.
And then there's the theory, courtesy of Graham Hancock and other alternative historians, that the ark was a kind of ancient power source. Not just a religious artifact, but a literal generator. The Levites, wearing special garments, may have been conducting rituals to harness energy.
That's definitely the most ancient aliens take. But hey, it's not like the descriptions don't raise eyebrows. The ark emits strange effects. People drop dead around it. It's always handled with poles, never directly touched. It's almost radioactive.
Even skeptics admit the descriptions feel engineered for mystery. But whether it's divine or simply misunderstood, the ark's aura of danger gave it power, and still does.
It's also worth noting that not finding the ark might be what keeps it alive in culture. It's a perfect narrative device, lost, powerful, sacred. That's why you get movies like Raiders of the Lost Ark, where the ark isn't just treasure, it's judgment. It has that great scene where it melts Nazis for crying out loud.
The ark has even entered national myths. Some believe it will reappear when a third temple is built in Jerusalem. Others think it will signal the end of days. It's become an eschatological beacon.
But maybe the real legacy of the ark isn't its disappearance. It's how it transformed religious thinking. After the ark vanished, Judaism shifted. Without a central relic, the focus turned to scripture, tradition, and study. The divine presence moved from gold and cherubim to the hearts of people.
That's a profound idea, that sometimes the loss of something physical makes room for something more lasting. The ark may be gone, but its echo reverberates through Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Three faiths still hold it in awe.
And maybe that's the greatest mystery of all, not where the ark is, but how it still shapes the world long after it disappeared. That's it for today's episode of the History AI podcast. If you loved the show, drop us a 5-star review. It really helps more people discover the pod.
And don't forget to subscribe, share with your fellow history buffs, and check out our brand new merch. Link is in the show notes. T-shirts, mugs, and more, perfect for fans of legendary artifacts and dad jokes.
Got a topic idea? Hit us up on social media. We love hearing from you, and your suggestions often turn into episodes.
And remember, all our episodes are evergreen. So whether you're listening in 2025 or 2050, the mystery still holds.
Thanks for tuning in, and as always,
Stay curious.
Up on Sinai's smoking height, thunder cracked the skies. Moses climbed through fire and fear with questions in his eyes. From the cloud, the voice of God carved law in stone and flame, and told him build a holy box to bear his sacred name. Gold God and gone, a vessel of heaven, now lost for so long. Thunder in wood and mercy in flame. The ark held the promise, the power, the name. They carried it through desert dust, through 40 weary years. A war drum when it trembled, a balm for all their fears. It split the flood at Jordan's edge, it crushed Jericho's wall. Wherever went the ark of God, their foes were sure to fall. Gold God and gone, a beacon, a banner, an omen, a song, carried by Levites, guarded in shade, the throne of the unseen, where glory once stayed. King David danced before it, robes blowing in the breeze. Solomon gave it golden walls and cedar-scented peace. But kings fell cold and empires burned, the temple bled and broke. And somewhere in the smoke and screams, the ark dissolved in smoke. Did they hide it in the mountains? Did the priest take it away? Did it vanish down to Exxon, or in Babylon decay? Rome marched on Jerusalem, but found no sacred chest, only echoes in the silence, where it once had come to rest. Now seekers search in shadowed lands, from Ethiopia's sands to Templar tombs and desert scrolls buried beneath the lands. But maybe what it truly held was never made of gold, but the covenant of mystery and stories yet untold.